Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Raju Engineers Limited Q1 FY22 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mrs. Khushbu Chandrakant Doshi, Managing Director, Raju Engineers Limited. Thank you and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Raju Engineers Limited earnings conference call for the first quarter ended 30th June 21. I have with me Mr. Utsav Kishore Doshi, Joint Managing Director, Mr. Sunil Jain, Executive Director, Mr. Jayantilal Jalavadia, Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. Prakash Daga, Vice President Finance, along with Bridge IR, our Investor Relation team. We have shared our results updated presentation, and I hope you all must have received it and gone through the same. Before we get into the business and financial performance of the quarter, I would like to share a brief insight about the company. We have come a long way since inception and crossed several milestones over the recent past. Today, we have emerged as one of the leading plastic extrusion machinery manufacturers in India, with nearly 35 years of excellence in extrusion in the industry. Based in Rajkot, Raju Engineers Limited made a modest beginning in 1986 and has emerged as an undisputed global player in a blown film line, sheet extrusion line, thermoformers, and extrusion coating and lamination lines. Owing to our focused efforts, the company enjoys a premium market position in the segment. In line with the strategy, we continue to expand our global footprint with focus on market penetration and sustained investments in research and development to support the progress. Being a technology-driven company, product innovation, world-class quality, state-of-the-art workmanship, energy-efficient high level of sophistication and automation have become the hallmark of Raju products during all these years, and thereby positioning our product on a global platform, competing with established world leaders. With representation in many countries across the world and customers in over 70 plus countries, our exports have multiplied since debuting in the international market in 1990. Our brand reliability and position in the global market is further fortified through a number of strong alliances in the industry, such as Kohli Industries from India, Nice Machines BV from Netherlands, Balzano and Figli from Italy, and Wonderpet. It is an industry practice to build the machine with the client specifications to garner competitive advantage. However, at Raju, we have always been pioneer of change and innovation by identifying just the right technologies and its mix to add value to clients' business. We are being appreciated by loyalties and the business of the appropriate technology approach to consistently help customers' business with customized solution rather than following a traditional approach. I would now like to take you through some of the recent developments of our company and industry by large. As we all are aware, the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic continues to adversely affect our lives and industry. A fairly large part of the first quarter was spent in a lockdown to curb the second wave, even as a vaccination drive continued throughout the nation. The first quarter is seasonally lower for our sector, and top of that, it was further impacted due to COVID-19. Sharp rise in raw material prices and transportation costs during the quarter did not allow any scope of price escalation because of order executed during the first quarter were mostly order booked before March 21st. The month of April, May were severely impacted both for sales and the supply chain point of view, since several parts of the countries were under localized lockdown. Consequently, operations have resumed to full capacity as the restrictions were eased in a staggered manner by the authorities. However, as we have demonstrated during the previous year, even in such trying time, Raju has a strong and steady order book that enable us not to only sustain but also grow our sales in this challenging time during the first quarter. On an exciting note, in July 21, Raju Engineers and Kohli Industries organized a virtual open house of recently executed our product, Limex 360 coating and lamination extrusion machine. It's being live streamed from the floor of our customer, who is based in Rajkot, Balaji Multiplex. This event was attended by more than 500 participants from India as well as abroad. The machine achieved a maximum speed of 360 meters per minute during the open house, while the nameplate capacity was 350 meters per minute, a result of an unbeatable combination of the technology and engineering. Now coming to our financial performance. In the quarter ended 30 June 21, our company achieved a net revenue of 32.9 crore, growing 34.7% year on year. Growth was driven by increase in demand from the flexible packaging industry. The company has a strong order book that enable us to not only sustain but also to grow our sales in this trying time during the first quarter. However, as well, we all are aware that metal price, logistics rate, and increased significantly during the quarter. The EBITDA stood 2.01 crore in FY22 against 2.93 crore in a previous comparative period, declining 31% YOY, mainly on account of a raw material price which increased substantially over the last 2 quarters, especially in steel products and polymer, along with the logistic expenses. Profit after tax has 1.06 crore and basic EPS stood at 0.17 in FY 21-22 quarter one. So this is from my side. Thank you very much, and we shall now take the questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1 now. The first question is from the line of R.K. Ladda from Yash Investments. Please go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Hello. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Laddaji.
Good morning to all of you. And I just want to ask a couple of questions. My first question is, ma'am, this poly packaging industry is doing very well, like Polyplex or Cosmo Films or others. Our industry can be termed as an ancillary to this?
Okay. To give you a brief explanation, I request Mr. Jain to come in. Mr. Jain?
Yeah, good morning, Khushbu. Good morning, sir. It is a complementary. Cosmo companies like Cosmo, Polyplex, the Uflex Films division, it is complementary to our business. If you pick up any packaging material, there would be a heat sealant layer, which is polythene, and a barrier film, which is printed like polyester or BOPP being sold by Cosmo.
Okay.
So it is we make machines to manufacture the heat sealant layer, which is the polythene. So it is a complementary industry.
Okay. Thank you. And my next query is, what is our current order book position, sir?
Khushbu, can you take that?
Yeah. Sir, we have a pending order of approximately 100 plus CR, and it's the same for the next 2 quarters. We are seeing the positive sign, and probably we will be able to register the same growth as this quarter.
Hello, ma'am. Sorry, I can't hear the. Can you give in figures how much order are we have in hand?
Sir, we are having a 100 plus order book as of today.
Okay. And madam, which percent or what percent of it is on firm prices, which does not allow us to ready material, raw material price escalation?
Sir, the product line which we are into, it does not anyway allow the recovery for after once the order is being booked. But many of the orders are with the new prices, so
Okay.
the overall risk is well mitigated.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, and all the best to Team Raju and you from me. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Neha Doshi, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good morning, all.
Good morning, Neha.
This question is based on the financial part. We see that raw material prices have, steeply increased in this quarter for about 41%, which has led to gross margin reductions. So what has led to such increase in raw materials?
Ma'am, you have to repeat because there is some background noise. If it was not audible. Did anyone hear that properly, Mr. Jain?
No, the first part of it was slightly blurred. So
Okay,
I request Ms. Doshi to please repeat the question.
Yes, sure. I was saying that raw material prices have increased in the quarter by about 41% as compared to last year this quarter, which has led to a reduction in the gross margins. So what has led to increase in raw material expenses?
What is the expected increase in raw material prices? Is that a question?
No. I'm saying that the raw material prices in this quarter is already increased by 40% roughly. So what has led to this increase in the prices? Have the raw material prices increased overall?
Okay. Mr. Jain, would you take that?
Yeah, I can take that. But is Mr. Prakash Daga there, who's our Vice President Finance? Prakash?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah, Prakash here.
Good morning. Can you take that, please?
Yes, please. Yeah, the raw material prices, as the question is, it has increased by 40% during the quarter as corresponding to previous quarter, wherein the company's total raw material cost has increased hardly by 7% as compared to the last quarter. And definitely it has some impact on our margin. But because the raw material prices during this quarter has steel, straight products and polymers are mainly basically our raw material, and the prices have increased. Our product is capital goods, and the lead time of the orders is normally 4 to 6 months, normally in our case. So whatever prices have increased, we could not be able to pass on to the customer during this first quarter what the orders have been executed. So definitely it has impacted our gross margin during this quarter.
Okay. Understood. Okay. So my next question is, this demand in packaging industry has increased over a period of time. So how do we anticipate this demand to be in the near future?
Yeah, Mr. Jain, this is for you, I guess.
Okay, let me come in. We expect the demand to still continue at the same level because people have got into the habit, good for us, they've got into the habit of buying packaged foods. People have got into the habit of ordering through e-commerce portals, which also requires packaging material. So we don't foresee any downfall in the demand for flexible packaging materials. Does that answer your question, please?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next question, we go to the new product development. So we have this new product like Lamex. So are there any other new products that we are under development? And for those products, are we going to be tapping new geographies in the country as well as for exports?
Okay, so the new product, see, as Mr. Daga said, we are in a capital goods. So new product development happens, entirely new product. If it is, then probably a one in a year. So this is something from our side, which is now, it's there in the market. And when we really say that the development got over, when we have the validation from the market, as considering the technological aspect and the commercial aspect of it. So when we talk about this Limex, it is being introduced in 2018, and now we have 10 plus such machines running commercially in the market. So now we are at a stage that the product development and the enhancement has reached at a level, but we continue to develop further. As far as completely new product, we are not seeing much of an opportunity, and we feel that the flexible packaging market is growing currently at a very good rate, and we would like to focus on the same. So yeah, this is something from my side.
Let me add to what Khushbu had just mentioned. You see, Lamex is a series of machines, but it has various applications. So till now, what Khushbu was talking about are Lamex series, primarily targeting the flexible packaging market. But there are other markets, for example, the raffia industry and the woven sack industry. So we have recently introduced a machine for the woven sack industry. That's an industry where we were not there at all. So same series, but it's a new product for a new market. So that is a market which is raffia industry, as everyone knows, is growing by leaps and bounds. So we thought is a good opportunity to adapt our extrusion coating and laminating machine for the raffia industry. That's your answer to the first question. Second question, in terms of the markets which we are looking at, yes, we are expanding our footprint in markets in Latin America, where we were there before, but we are back there again. We are also looking at markets in the CIS countries and also Eastern Europe. Does that answer your question, please?
Yes, it does. And just one more question, sir. So in the near future, then do we expect any technical collaboration in case we plan to, develop any new products?
See, this is a continuous and a constant process. Khushbu, go on.
No, it's okay. You can take it.
It's a constant process. We keep looking at opportunities, and let me assure everyone, if there is an opportunity in the horizon, we won't miss it.
Okay, fine. Thank you, sir, and good luck to the team.
Thank you.
Thank you. We would like to remind participants that you may press star 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Rohan Mehta, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. And I just had a few questions. As you already spoke about raw material prices, that why they went up and all. So just wanted to ask if this is to be expected in the next 1 or 2 quarters also, and if so, if the existing orders are fixed at a price, would we be incorporating a potential price hike in the new orders that we come to compensate for the increase in raw material prices in the coming quarter?
Utsav, can you take this? Utsav?
Can you just repeat the question? Yeah, hi, good morning.
Morning. So my question basically was, as we were speaking about raw material prices having gone up, and because orders were already booked at previous prices, so is that something that we'll maybe put into our strategy in the next quarter or the quarter after that, whether there'll be any price increase to compensate for this raw material price?
Yeah. So answer to your question is we did increase our machine index price, the basic price of the machine, as well as we are also purchase strategy, which we are doing in a different way now that we used to do it earlier. So we are doing in a mass procurement, and we are doing other subtraction and many other initiatives within the company, which will surely help us to reduce our cost by only 1.5% to 2% in coming days.
Okay.
Yeah.
So also operating costs have also seemed to have gone up a little faster than the revenue. So if you could just shed some light on that as well, where those costs are coming in from, and if there's anything that we can do, we are doing to compensate for that in the next 1 or 2 quarters.
So mainly operating cost has gone up because of the logistic and raw material thing. And as it's so rightly mentioned, the compensation of that, probably in the next quarter, we would be able to maintain the last quarter thing. So as Utsav mentioned, that all the prices of the product now has been passed on to the user, and researched cost is being considered for next 2 quarters as well, because we still, to answer your first question as well, that we are still seeing and expecting some of the price rise in some of the category. So we feel that overall market stability in terms of polymer pricing and the metal pricing and other electronics pricing may take another 2 quarters, and we have to mitigate that risk. So the prices has been already passed on, and so the next quarter and so forth, whatever the orders will be executed, 50% of those orders again would be at a new prices. So that's how we're gonna cover.
Okay, that's great. So maybe by around half a year or 9 months, we can see that, as Mr. Jain also mentioned, there is likely to be a similar trend in terms of demand. So top line wise, we can expect similar growth. And if these expenses are even partially compensated, margin levels will also see improvement.
Will improve. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Just a couple of more things I wanted to ask. In terms of our exports, what percentage would revenue be coming from exports, and you know, what kind of regions, like we mentioned earlier that Latin America is one of the new target regions. What would be the top export markets, and in terms of percent also, how much revenue are we getting from exports, please?
Mr. Jain, would you take that, please?
Yeah, sure. Good morning again, Mr. Rohan. The last financial year, our exports contributed to close to 49% of our top line. And in the first quarter of this year, it's about 40%. We could have done better, but we got stuck because of availability of containers. So we do expect to maintain the same ratio, close to 45 to 50% of the turnover we do expect will be exports. And the main markets were Nigeria, Vietnam, Thailand, Ghana. These are the countries which were the major markets. And now we also are executing some orders for Turkey. Okay. But as I mentioned before, we are trying to penetrate in other markets which are known very well to us. The Latin American market, the CIS market, Eastern Europe. These are the 3 segments which we are planning to penetrate in this year and the coming years.
Okay. Got it, sir. So just who would be our major customers in terms of bulk of our sales, whether in India or abroad? Like, is it evenly out?
First question is, these machines are never sold in bulk.
Okay. No, I meant who would account for majority? If there's any 1 or 2 customers who are accounting for a fair bit of our revenue, or if it's fairly evenly distributed across.
It is evenly. See, because the level of processes in this country is very, very vast. You have small industries, you have medium, you have large. If we talk about the large industry, our biggest customer last year was the multinational Constantia.
Okay.
You know, Constantia is the 3rd largest in the world in flexible packaging. So it's a mix of small players and big players.
Okay.
Let me give you another example. We picked up another product called from manufacturer of tarpaulin. And there's one company, relatively unknown company, which bought close to 10 machines from us.
Okay.
So it's and this doesn't happen year after year, and that is because the basic industry, the demand in the basic industry is growing, and in India, plastic processors, the size is very, very diverse.
Okay.
So even the customer profile is highly diverse.
Right. Got it, sir.
Thank you.
So just lastly, in the export markets where we are selling, do we have any local competition in those countries, companies making similar machines that we may be competing with over there who are localized?
The countries which I mentioned to you, except Latin America, yes, there is a manufacturer in Brazil, but other countries like Ghana, Nigeria, or even Vietnam, there are no local manufacturers of machines. But it would be wrong to say that we do not face competition, because it's a global market today. We have competition from everywhere. were coming in from Europe or coming from China or even from the US. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely, sir. Just related to this only, is our local, like India-based competitors also competitors in our export markets, or that's not the case?
Oh, definitely they are.
Okay. Understood, sir. Just lastly, this quarter, I know balance sheets are not published in Q1, but in terms of our working capital, has there been any change in terms of the cycle over the last since 31st March?
Jyoti sir, can you take this, please?
Hello. Yeah, Prakash here. Hello.
Yes, hi. Good morning.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, absolutely. My question was if you could just share some light into the working capital cycle compared to 31st March.
See, the working capital cycle, more or less, it has remained at the same level because nothing has much changed. But inventories also we are at present, inventories almost 200 days. And debtors somewhere around 15 days debtors. Creditors also 2 to 3 months creditors are there. The same working capital cycle, not much changes in this quarter.
So in terms of working capital requirement, as in need for short-term debt is similar?
No, as on date, there is no short-term debt, I would say, because the company is having handsome liquidity in terms of advance against orders.
Right.
So practically, we are not using any short-term facilities at present.
Yes, that is what I figured because our finance cost had also reduced this quarter.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And that's all from my side. If I have any more questions, I'll just join back. Thank you so much for taking so many of my questions. Thank you and all the best, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. from MB Gala and Company. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning to everybody. There are a couple of questions. What I have noticed from the figures that has been announced, there is an 13 to 15% increase in the raw material cost. There is an equally increase in the HR cost also around say 18 to 20%. Of course, that has been mitigated by the fair enough in the reduction of the interest cost around 40% from the previous year quarters. And as already answered in some of the questions, that there is an increase in the sales now that has been booked up from the current quarters onwards, around 1 to 2% in the sale price. May I know why there is an increase in the HR cost and what management is foreseeing for that? At the same time, when there is a sales price in increase by 1 or 2%, will it mitigate the increase in the cost levels that has been seen in this quarter? And my second question is, what about is there any, since the demand is very good, is there any plan for an expansion this year and what is the forecast that the management is looking for this whole year? These are the two questions, just you can take up, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So because of the pandemic situation last year, there was an attendance issue and which was, restored in third quarter of FY21. So moreover, to keep the employees motivated in this difficult time, the company gave the healthy annual increment in July 20. So therefore, the employee cost has increased against the last corresponding quarter. And after this, the second wave, as a gesture of goodwill and being socially responsible, the company has paid 21 lakhs to the family of deceased employees, and that has, deceased employees affected due to COVID. So this two parameters has contributed into a rise of overall employee cost. Your second question was that do we see any, since the rise in demand of the product, do we have any expansion plan? So in 21, we were nearly operated at a capacity of 60 to 65%. and now we are operating probably a 70 to 75% of the capacity. So we feel that for this year there should not be any further expansion as far as infrastructure is concerned, and we would be, whatever investment levels would be there, it would be more on a research and development or the product enhancement. So as far as infrastructure is concerned, we would not be expanding for a year one at least, I mean this year.
Madam, I just wanted to know about whether this will mitigate the sales price which has been explained by your team members about that there is an increase in the 1 or 2% in the fresh orders. Will it mitigate the cost increment of a raw material and the HR cost basically, which have been increased by 15 to 20% roughly?
Right. So this is the same question, and I mentioned in my answer to Mr. Rohan as well that the revised price is also being considered after envisaging the future increased cost for next 2 quarters at least. So yes, to answer your question, it will mitigate, and we are also expecting sales to grow further at the same rate, which also helps us to finally annually it will mitigate the raw material prices and the employee cost.
The RM cost, because basically Mr. Jain has explained there is an inventory of 200 days. So if it is 200 days, it is almost in 6 months. And when we take an order 6 months in advance, I think our raw materials which are been on hand should be taking care of this RM cost, which is increased by 13 to 15% roughly. So is it not that we have a very good policy on this count, that when there is an enough of raw material of 200 days, which we are maintaining, so the cost coverage which has been there, or rather increase in the cost which has been shown in the results, should have been taken care of when we book the orders. I see that there is something which I am failed to understand between these 2 lines. So if you can say something on this.
Mr. Daga, would you like to comment on this?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes. So just as you mentioned, as we also told you, the inventory, we are maintaining inventory of almost 200 days. Right. And that is required just because we are having the delivery time of our orders is almost 4 to 6 months. So it naturally takes care of the orders on hand, pricing raw material cost component of the orders on hand. And whatever new orders we are taking, so back-to-back raw material also we are securing. So what Khushbu Madam just now told, our strategy of increasing the order price, considering next 2 quarters of raw material movement, will definitely mitigate the fluctuations what are expected in the near future in the raw material prices.
Yeah, that is what I have shown my concern about, that when we are maintaining the inventory, the RM cost, which has been increased by almost 15% this quarter, that between these 2 lines, I was not able to reconcile.
Probably this would answer your question, sir. When we say that we are manufacturer of blown film lines and the sheet extrusion, each machines are being produced as per the customer's requirement. So, you can say that 50% is the standard bill of material, and then there is some variation for each product as per the requirement. So that is why the inventory cost goes up, because when you say that you have certain inventories, it is not for the one kind of a product, but it's considering the entire product portfolio. And to since there is a lot of customization in the product, we also have to maintain the inventory for the customer support. So this is what it is.
Yeah, about the second question, madam, you answered me about the expansion. I just wanted to know about the management's projection for the year.
In terms of revenue, we are targeting we are targeting 15% rise compared to the last year. Okay.
Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Let me just come in and I also add to what Khushbu mentioned. Being in the capital goods industry, we need to keep stock of some old machines as well, parts for some old machines, which also counts in the inventory Even if someone comes to us with a machine which we have sold 8 to 10 years back, still we will be able to turn around and support him so that his machine is not down.
Okay.
So all the raw material inventory is not necessarily for the orders which are on hand.
Okay.
They also cover the warranty provisions which we are committed to support to our customers.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Rahul Shah, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, taking kind of follow-up from the earlier few questions, ma'am, in terms of the top line, can we be a little more clear as to how the quarterly top line pans out in terms of first quarter, second, third, and fourth quarter? This is because our last quarter, which is the fourth quarter, I think we did reasonably well as related to the prior quarters. And in Q1 now we see a kind of a different scenario, not in terms of top line as it is, but in terms of the overall P&L. So can you please help us explain how do we model these volatilities into Excel?
Okay, so Mr. Jain, can you take this, please? Well, it's not a volatility, but yeah, let Mr. Jain explain.
Let me come in. See, what happens is in the last quarter of the financial year, there is always historically the top line, the sales will be higher because people want machines in quick delivery and because they want to claim depreciation. So in our industry, all the 4 quarters would never be on the same level. If you pick up even a 15 or 20-year-old industry history, the first quarter is always a slightly low uptake and last quarter is always the maximum. That is the nature of the industry.
So fair enough, sir. That is what our understanding would be. But then the raw material prices have been rising for quite some time now. And if I'm not mistaken, then even the fourth quarter fell under this rising raw material prices scenario. So how do we then understand that aspect vis-a-vis the performance of the fourth quarter in that rising raw material prices scenario?
See, there are 2 things to it. One is people are claiming a price increase, but when that price becomes effective is also important. So as Utsav also mentioned, we keep negotiating with our raw material suppliers. We also try to increase our orders by bulk order buying when the prices are not yet increased. So we managed to do it in the last quarter, but then the price increase in terms of had to be given, and that is what is getting reflected now. Does that partly answer your question?
So if my understanding is correct, the pass-through from the buyers to the suppliers, which is we in this case, will see the realizations moving higher from here for some time now?
Definitely. That's what was explained earlier. And in the capital good industry is not easy, unlike the commodities, to get a price increase. But the industry has now accepted the inevitable, and we are getting orders on revised prices, which incorporates the raw material price increase. And as Khushbu had mentioned, to mitigate further raw material prices, that has also been considered.
So, sir, then that brings me to the next round of questions. In terms of product innovation, are we still we have seen a fairly long dull period as far as capital goods industry is concerned from the demand side, because probably there have been no significant kind of capexes which have happened in the recent past, but they have probably started from the recent past. So can you explain how do we see this demand scenario panning out? Are we still in a push kind of an environment, or there is some pull effect being created for our products?
I would say that there is a lot of pull effect also on our products because of the nature of the flexible packaging industry. And please also understand, for example, if I have a lathe machine is very versatile. I can do many things on it. So we keep changing the some parts in the equipment so that it turns into a development. So it necessarily does not mean that if I have to get into a new product, then capex is definitely required.
Okay, fair enough. So this is from the buyer side is what you're talking about. From our side, we being the suppliers for them, for the machinery, how does the innovation play out? Because we've seen in the release itself that there is one new product that which we have launched. I think it's in collaboration with coal industries.
Correct.
So how do we see this innovation supporting us in terms of top line, catering to the demand, and in terms of the margins?
Okay. Any new product needs a push strategy, not necessarily a pull strategy in the initial years. So that is what we are following. We are promoting this, and that's the reason why we had this virtual open house to tell the industry, nearly 500 people from all over the world. And that is basically a push strategy to let people know that this is a new product which we have made in competition with machines coming in from Europe or from Far East. And we are very aggressively promoting that particular product. And that product was more to do with the snack food packaging and food packaging. And as I mentioned a couple of minutes back, the same product with a variant of the same product is also used in the raffia industry. So that's again a push strategy in the sense we were not very active in the raffia industry. We did not have enough products for that. But seeing up the potential of the raffia industry, we made this variant to cater to that industry. So in certain products, there is a pull. When we talk about blown film products, there's a pull. But when we talk about new products like the extrusion coating and laminating line, there is a push strategy.
Fair enough. I mean, very well explained. So all these questions primarily have been to understand how would our margins pan out. Probably, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but what my understanding is that in terms of EBITDA margins, probably we are not reflecting the kind of sector that we are in. So, and probably again, we do have a lot of potential to grow in that area as well. So, can you throw some light as to how our margins will pan out in this year and probably in next couple of years? Hello?
Yeah, I can. Okay, let me, if I've understood it correctly, otherwise Khushbu and Prakash can come in. Any industry, the objective is to increase the EBITDA margin, right? So, EBITDA margin can be increased either by better buying, which is in your control. You have no control over the increase in prices of raw materials. And the second way of increasing EBITDA margin is to look for markets and segments where you can have a better realization. So, right. So, our view would be to focus more on exports, from where the EBITDA margins can be higher, so that overall the EBITDA margin improves.
Hello?
Okay. Yeah. So if I can just add and summarize in a one-line strategy is how to improve the EBITDA margin is only putting efforts in research and development for the existing product enhancement and taking a product at a global level where we are from last one and a half years we are in a position now to compete with the European suppliers. That's including Italy, Germany, and even American market. So machines coming from there to India. Now we are well positioned to compete with them for the Indian market, and that's where the margin gets improved. And with the same machines, we are now able to compete with those global competitors at a world level. So that is what we are targeting. So basically, as Mr. Jain mentioned, that the export contributes to 49%, but the target target is to really reach at a 60-65%, which can improve the EBITDA margin. Does that answer your question?
So if I understand correctly, so you have a two-pronged strategy wherein you want to increase the export percentage as well as replace the imports happening in India with our own products. So that both ways our EBITDA margins can get impacted positively. Is that right?
Absolutely correct. And the virtual open house which we talked about in July was primarily that kind of machine was an import substitution product.
So, sir, can I continue for a couple of more questions? This is basically to understand how do we see ourselves in future. So, in that case, then, sir, have we kind of studied this market as to how big is this market that we are catering to? What is our locus standi in this market, and in terms of our strength, and have we put any numbers to this entire strategy?
If you are talking about market shares,
yes, sir.
See, we are in different segments. If we talk about blown films today,
Mr. Jain, can I address this?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Sir, if you talk about the market, let's talk about the domestic market. So if we consider the year end back, we were there is three major players in the industry, and if you talk about the market share, considering the number of markets, a year and a bit we were at the third largest, and this year we are the second largest in terms of number of machines, and probably the highest in number of installed capacity, because comparing other two players in the market, our machines are more productive, and so the plasticizing capacities is more. So in terms of plasticizing capacity in the installed one, we are having the highest market share, and in terms of number of machines in the market, we can say we are second highest in the market as far as domestic market is concerned. Now, if we see the global scenario, which we have considered well, and we are targeting to have the 10% of those markets which is now being catered by the European and German suppliers. So that is what the target for our next 3 years, that currently we are just a peanut as far as the international market is concerned, but though we have a supply in 70 plus countries, but now we are targeting to compete with the global supplier, and we have successfully done that in the last couple of years, which is now improving not only the export but also the high value product in the export market.
Fair enough, ma'am. Yeah, I'm really sorry, but we market people have a kind of knack to understand the scalability factor. So probably that is what I'm trying to understand. Just another question in terms of working capital scenario. How do we see ourselves? Are we comfortable enough, or there is scope for improvement? And if it is, then how do we plan to take that forward?
Mr. Daga, can you please comment?
Yeah. If we talk about the working capital situation at present, we are at a very much comfortable situation, because we have a policy of collecting at least 30% advance against the new orders, and that serves our purpose. The company has been sanctioned sufficient credit facilities by the banks, which at present at all we are not using, that I would say. And there is a very healthy liquidity position with the company as on date. So for coming quarters, at least we are not foreseeing any difficulties in working capital. We are very comfortable here, I would say.
Thank you. Just one last, if you can give a number or a range for this year's EBITDA margins that we have targeted, and the profitability margins probably, or growth.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, sir.
Sir, can you repeat it, please?
Yeah. So one last kind of a closing number from the team as to where do we see this year ending in terms of top line, margins, and bottom line. Can you give us a range?
Yeah. So top line, as I mentioned earlier, it would be 12 to 15% growth, and EBITDA margin, we are expecting to have the growth of around 8 to 9%.
Okay, fair enough, ma'am. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. We would like to remind participants that you may press star 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Neha Doshi, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, I just have a couple of more questions that I wanted to address. So one is in regards to the land that we had purchased in 2018. So what is the update on, and when do we plan to start the production in that land?
Sir, ma'am, it is being now converted into the non-agricultural land, and it is now under the process of finalizing the layout and everything. So the project report is being considered, and we see that probably in the next financial year we would be developed on that land.
Okay. And my last question is regarding the impact of COVID that the company might have faced, and any labor-related issues in the factory. Like, has any stoppage in work because of labor-related issues?
Well, we cannot say that those are the issues, but yeah, due to COVID, there was a lot of attendance issues even in quarter start in April. So due to second wave, but otherwise, yeah, apart from the health issues, there were no other issues. And due to health, of course, we faced unavailability of the manpower in first 2 months of the quarter.
So has that impacted like our sales or delayed our sales by a couple of months?
See, it is impacted, but it is not impacted only because of the labor. See, because of the second lockdown, everything was hampered. So the supply was not coming for the raw material, and the customer was not ready to lift the machine on a time. And of course, the labor was not there to produce the machine on a time. So in a result of everything, its final figures suffered as far as the delivery of the machine was concerned, but not only because of the labor.
Okay. That's it from my end, ma'am. Thank you for taking my questions again, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mrs. Khushbu Chandrakant Doshi, Managing Director, Raju Engineers Limited, for closing comments.
So I would like to thank you, all of you, for taking the time out, attending this call, and I'm also thankful to each member of our Raju Engineers family, as well as our clients, creditors, bankers, financial institutes, and all our stakeholders. Some of you may have some more queries as well, and if we are not able to respond at it as per the satisfaction, to remain very transparent, I would like to tell that these are the kind of exposure we are now learning and taking it. So your question has also got us to a deep thinking about the business, and we are learning it. So keep motivating us, keep asking us a question, and this is a very good experience. So thank you very much. For any further queries and information, please get in touch with our investor relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On behalf of Raju Engineers Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.